Hi, I'm Nadiyah Herron, and today we are going to be talking about nonverbal communication. Now, researchers indicate that 93% of our interaction is nonverbal. This makes nonverbal communication incredibly powerful in our day-to-day interaction, whether it's formal, in the classroom, or on the job, or informal, just hanging out with family and friends. Nonverbal communication is a vital part of our day-to-day lives. Let's break it down. Nonverbal communication is invaluable to our relationships. Whether you're having an intimate conversation with your spouse, or you are leading that meeting in the boardroom, if you're in leadership, really any aspect of business and interpersonal communication, it is the unique quality of nonverbal communication that allows us to access the subconscious. And it is the nonverbal indicators that we often don't pay too much attention to that go overlooked that allow us to understand and that reveal the true nature and feelings of the communicator. One, feelings that they may not even be aware of. Two, feelings that they could be in denial about. Or three, feelings that they're unable to identify, feelings that they can't quite articulate. Sometimes you don't have the words, or feelings that they're just simply afraid to explore. And this is important because as human beings, we are unaware of our rapidly changing emotional state. Have you ever been in a conversation and been thinking like, what aren't you saying to me and why aren't you saying it? Well, nonverbal communication can lend some insight through our facial expressions, our eye movement, our body language, even our clothing, what you wear, your personal appearance. You are engaging silently in impression management and you're also establishing credibility. See, our nonverbal indicators are the closest thing to what we're actually experiencing on the inside emotionally. And they may be things that we're unaware of or that we're incapable of vocalizing. Now, there are additionally demographic barriers that hinder vocal communication. And these include things like trauma, we've been through something, language, physiological conditions, and even physical impairment. That is why nonverbal communication is the closest conduit to what you're actually thinking on the inside, whether it be conscious or subconscious. Our nonverbal indicators, they reveal emotions that are unacknowledged and even that are unspoken. Okay, so the next time you're in a restaurant, take a look around. You can probably figure out the nature, the depth and breadth of a relationship by how far apart a person is sitting from another person. This is considered proxemics. Researcher Edward Hall, he studied what you can tell about a relationship based on the distance that people are sitting apart. So let's start with something that we call in communication as personal space. Now, personal space is like your personal bubble. And achoo, what? Back up, back away from me. Did you just cough? Like, we are all about our personal space after the pandemic, right? We don't want anybody in our personal space. The next is called intimate distance, and this is a space that you would engage in. It's 1 foot apart or less, about a foot and a half apart, and you would engage in this type of intimate distance with somebody that is a romantic partner, a close family member, just someone that you're in an intimate relationship with. And this can include, this is so close that it include whispering, hugging, touching, hand holding, enough space where you can display, romantic affection towards one another. Next, listen up real close. It is social space. And social space is when you are in a casual interaction or a business interaction. Back up, okay? Respect people's space. Now, in this situation, you want to be about 4 to 12 feet away from the person that you're communicating with, and you want to make sure that you're respecting people's space, okay? Next, and let me just follow up. This would be if you're in your office, make sure you're not too close and all up on somebody, okay? Back up. They won't tell you this. They'll kind of silently back away and be like, gosh, this guy has no respect for personal space, but back up. Also, if you're in this also goes if you're in an after hours office meeting, again, the rules still apply, okay? Respect people's space, personal space, and boundaries, okay? Nonverbal. Nonverbal and verbal. Okay, and then finally we have public space. And this is like if somebody is doing a presentation. This is also true if you're at a concert, okay, and somebody is performing, okay? You want to stay about 12, no running to the stage, okay? You want to stay about 12 to 25 feet away, even if you're in the front row, even if you have front seats. This space is there as a nonverbal barrier, a boundary to say do not cross, and it provides protection for the communicator, and it provides protection for you. Your personal space is your protection. People will go to great lengths to protect their personal space, and just remember next time you're talking to somebody, respect their space. Okay, so how many true crime fans do we have in the audience? Me. I'm a huge true crime fan. That's why nonverbal communication, this section particularly, the rest might be kind of boring, but this section I really like because we start to, talk about how we can start to spot if somebody is being dishonest, how to spot a lie. Now, let's say you're at work, okay, and um, and you are approving expense accounts and you notice that one of your employees' expense accounts numbers don't make sense, right? So you call them in, you start to question them. So I see here, this is an ordinarily amount for a maestro's dinner for 3. Now, how many clients did you say were at this meeting? Like, let's say the bill's like $3,000, right? How many clients did you say were at this meeting? Okay, and why did you go so far outside of your territory? You begin to ask them probing questions, right? Now, what date did you say this meeting? Now, let's say the employee starts to fidget. Okay, they start to breathe heavily. They start to change their body movement, right? What you're seeing is a change in their emotions. And what you're looking for is, do those emotions line up with their body language? If not, you may be dealing with somebody who is a Decepticon. No, you might be dealing with somebody who's either very nervous or a little bit deceptive. So when a person is being deceptive, there are a myriad of biological and physiological processes that are taking place in their minds. And if you become really adept at picking up on these nonverbal indicators, you can start to see it manifest in a person's body. Okay, true crime fans? Now, some things that you might see, you might begin to notice their veins, pop up, in their forehead or on their throat. You might just start to notice respiratory changes. You might start to notice that they start fidgeting or rapid eye movement. Notice that when a person is on the verge of confessing, they'll start to do things like pick at their fingernails. Any small objects that are in the vicinity, they'll start to fidget with them. Even if it's like a pen or a pencil, they'll start to fidget with them really quick. Another thing, the biggest indicator of deception is in the face. You'll start to see facial tics. I mean, everybody has a tell. One of the biggest, the most astonishing nonverbal indicators that I saw was I was watching a true crime show, and this guy, right before he confessed, kept touching his neck. And I knew that he had killed the woman. I knew he had strangled her because he had a nonverbal tell. So the eyes are really huge as well. If you've dealt with kids that are autistic, that they avoid eye contact because eye contact is too much stimulation because the eyes hold so much information. The eyes tell it all, baby. So the next time you are in a job interview, you're interviewing somebody, or you're on a first date, scanning their body language can tell you a lot more than what they're actually saying. Nonverbal communication is a truth teller, that's for sure. So are you ready to be a true crime interrogator yet? I'm just kidding, but I can hear some of the ladies saying, no man will ever get away with cheating on me again. I am going to be a lie detecting genius, right? Well, I hate to bust your bubble, but there is no single indicative behavior of deception, and everything has to be placed into context. Sorry, ladies. So, before you're interrogating your husband when he gets home late with the groceries, and this is because if somebody is, blushing, it could not mean not mean deception. It could mean that they're embarrassed. Or just as somebody who has rapid breathing or respiratory change, it could mean that they're nervous and not that they're lying. They could be nervous because you're crazy and not that they're lying, for example. And then also it's important to note that physiological factors such as mental illness, for example, mental illness, nonverbal behaviors often mimic lying behavior. So it's important to remember, sorry to bust your bubble, everything has to be placed into context, and there is no single indicative behavior of deception because everybody's different. We're all human. Okay, let's shift gears to something a little bit more serious, a lot more serious. Let's talk about trauma, victims of trauma and nonverbal communication. So for those of you who may work in a field dealing with trauma victims, such as if you're a clinician, a social worker, if you're a first responder, if you're even even teachers, this is especially true if you're dealing with children, okay? Training in nonverbal communication can prove invaluable because victims of trauma are not always able to verbalize what is going on the inside. Understand? So an example of this might be if a victim of trauma is describing a really traumatic event like a school shooting and they're smiling or laughing or doing something that is not in congruence with what they're telling you. Or, for example, a husband is talking about his wife and he's very calm and relaxed in his tone, but his nonverbal, the expression on his face is very filled with anger. Those are things that you can pick up on. Those are things that you can highlight to the patient and let them know about the disconnect that is going on between what they're saying on the outside and what is actually going on the inside. And this can provide, support and awareness for the client. And in communication, we call this a hierarchy of expressive communication. And in this type of situation, nonverbal has precedence every single time. And this is especially true with when you're dealing with strong emotions. When we're talking about trauma and nonverbal communication, trauma is stored in our bodies. As far as memory goes, it is stored in the somatic memory, but as far as our bodies go, it is often stored in our muscles or our fascia. Now, this manifests into nonverbal behaviors because of triggers. All trauma creates triggers. If you're a trauma victim, you know what I'm talking about. It could be a smell or a scent or even a person, their voice, their tone, and it can take you all the way back to that traumatic event. And if you are friends with trauma victims or you know somebody that's experienced trauma, let's say you're out to eat with them, things are going great, and then all of a sudden you might see them tense up, you might see their facial expression change, you might see them display body language that says that they're anxious. They could have been triggered, okay? Your muscles get tight, it just is what it is. And an awareness or understanding nonverbal communication can create a better self-awareness for trauma victims. Number one, if there's an incongruence in between what you're displaying on the outside and what you're feeling on the inside, it can let you know if you're in denial about something. Number two, it can also let you know what's going on the inside that you're not able to vocalize or articulate. It can lend insight, to your friends or your family. And number three, it can let you know that there is something still going on, that you have unresolved trauma, and that there's something that you have not yet explored or are afraid to explore that is still having a very real effect on you. Okay. And this type of, because your body's always going to tell on you. Your body's always going to tell on you. And in these types of situations, again, it is the hierarchy of expressive communication, and nonverbal body language is going to take precedence. You cannot hide from it. And this type of keen awareness and reflection can really extend to the application of what you're going to take from this information and apply within yourself intrinsically, and also how to move forward for better interpersonal communication in the future. Okay, let's talk about something pretty fun and interesting, first impressions. Now, research suggests that people begin to form their first impression of us within 7 seconds of meeting us. Yes, 7 seconds. That means that your first impression is formed through your nonverbal behaviors. That's right. And research suggests that our impressions that we form of people are actually accurate most of the time. So this makes nonverbal indicators like your personal appearance, eye contact, posture, smiling, all incredibly important. For example, if you're on a first date and you're trying to attract a romantic partner, or if you are in a job interview and you're trying to land that new job, nonverbal expressions of confidence are vital. I want to also say that if you're on a job interview, timing is important. When you're in charge, you are also in charge of time. So make sure that you're not rushing through interview questions or general questions. Don't rush. Take your time. Be precise and calm and relaxed in your answers. Other indicators of confidence include loose, open hand gestures, and also includes power poses. Like if you fidget a lot, try steepling your hands. Politicians do this a lot, as well as Steve Jobs was known to do the power pose every now and again. I also want to indicate that over-the-top dramatic displays of confidence don't always equal confidence, okay? The loudest person in the room is not always the most confident in the room. I like to use examples like Rosa Parks, who displayed really quiet courage, or, Steph Curry on the court. He is not super braggadocious, but he has a very meek, subtle confidence about him and the skills to back it up. If you want more information on how to knock a job interview out of the park, or knock a first date out of the park, or really make a really good first impression, check out my video on how to kill it in a job interview later on. But for now, know that not everybody is born with the skills to be confident, but confidence is something that can be practiced and developed. Our bodies want to naturally express what we're feeling on the inside. So remember, the next time that you're having a conversation, if what the person is telling you is not really jiving with what they're showing you on the outside, 9 times out of 10, it is their nonverbal communication that more accurately reflects what they're feeling on the inside. Remember, the body never lies. It is the bearer of our unconscious thoughts, and it is nonverbal communication that provides more accurate data than our words alone. Just a few references for your review. I'm Nadiyah Herron, and this has been my lecture on nonverbal communication. If you have any interest in booking me for speaking engagements or corporate training, get in touch in the link below. As always, I hope you take something from this video and apply it to your real life. I consider that a success, and as always, I am always rooting for your success. Thanks for watching.